Greetings, friends around the world. This is Bible News Prophecy Program. My name is Alexander Sasavelic, and welcome. Well, in this program we have some possibly shocking news for many of you, and that is that Halloween and birthdays are big holidays for Satanists. Notice something related to an ex-Satanist turned Protestant. John Ramirez spent much of his early life with strong ties to the devil. He drank animal blood, conducted sacrifices, was baptized with the devil, and got married in a demonic wedding on Halloween. Here's a quote from this man. "I wonder why people celebrate Halloween these days," the 55 years old told Fox News, "because in essence I know what Halloween is about. I was in witchcraft for 25 years. Selling my soul to the devil, I was a general for the devil as a warlock." He added, "Have you ever heard a Satanist say, 'I can't wait for Good Friday to go to church with you'? So why would the Christians say, 'I can't wait for Halloween to say I want to dress up'? It's cheating on God, really." Ramirez, who grew up in Bronx, was part of a Satanist church from when he was 8 years old to 35 years old. He showed Fox News the marks on his body, the mark of the beast, as he reached the highest rank of devil worshippers, and the name chosen by the devil himself, after kissing a human skull and being cut open and burned in demonic ceremonies. Ramirez said he threw away thousands of dollars worth of witchcraft materials in the closet, including human bones, cemetery dirt, etc. He said all the witches claiming to do witchcraft against President Trump, that was a hoax just to make money. The author of Destroying Fear said the devil's greatest weapon is fear. That this was reported by the Fox News in 2019 on, that will be on 30th of October. Now, while many are aware of some of the pagan origins of Halloween celebrations, yet many do not realize where the practice of birthday celebrations came from or how they are viewed by certain Satanists. Back in 1969, Anton LaVey wrote the Satanic Bible. On page 96, in the 1967 version, it mentions birthdays. And here is what it says in the Satanic Bible. "The highest of all holidays in the Satanic religion is the date of one's own birth. This is in direct contradiction to the holy of holidays of other religions, which deify a particular god who has been created in an anthropomorphic form of their own image, thereby showing that the ego is not really buried. The Satanists feel, why not really be honest, and if you are going to create a god in your image, why not create that god as yourself? Every man is a god if he chooses to recognize himself as one." So the Satanist celebrates his own birthday as the most important holiday of the year. After all, aren't you happier about the fact that you were born than you are about the birth of someone you have never ever met? You've never even met, or that, for that matter, aside from religious holidays, why pay higher tribute to the birthday of a president or to a date in history than we do to the day we were brought into this greatest of all worlds? After one's own birthday, the two major Satanic holidays are Walpurgis Night and Halloween, or All Hallows Eve. This is the end of the quote, and this is from LaVey Gilmore, The Satanist Bible, Avon, September 1st, 1976, page 96. Note, it is on page 53 of an online version that you can find there on internet. Now, friends, it's interesting that birthdays are considered one of the three most important holidays to these Satan worshippers. The two others, called Walpurgis Night and Halloween, have pagan ties and are observed by millions who claim to be Christian. By the way, Walpurgis Night actually is the night between 30th of April and 1st of May. So that's that night when still people, celebrate as one of their greatest holidays. Sadly, many people go for picnics in various parts of the world, not realizing what a satanic and demonic that night really is. So while not all Satanists share that view, most celebrate birthdays, and those who practice astrology also consider birthdays of vital importance. The Bible, to your surprise, friends, never encourages the celebration of birthdays. Instead, it tends to speak in a negative manner concerning them. You can see that in Matthew chapter 14, verse 6 through 11, and Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 14 through 18. Now, of course, despite the practices of many who profess Christianity or Judaism, early Christians did not celebrate birthdays, nor did the early Jews. Nor have real Christians ever celebrated Halloween. As far as the Jews noticed that the first century Jewish historian Josephus noted the Jewish families did not celebrate birthdays. Here is from Josephus, translated by W. Winston, against Appian, Book 2, Chapter 26. And it says, "Nay, indeed, the law does not permit us to make festivals at the birth of our children, and thereby afford occasion of drinking to excess." Now, although there is no specific command against the celebration of birthdays in the Bible, the Jewish custom in those days was apparently based on the negative occurrences in the Bible surrounding birthdays, as well as the astrological implications of the celebration of birthdays. Pagan practices like astrology were specifically prohibited in the law. No early religious church writing from the 2nd century that we have seen, and some of us have seen and have read most that are available, none of them seem to endorse or even suggest the celebration of birthdays by any who profess Christ either. Astrology also seems to play a role, since it was believed that the positions of the stars at the time of birth influenced the child's future. Astrological horoscopes came into being, purporting to foretell the future based on the time of birth. Birthdays are intimately linked with the stars, since without the calendar, no one could tell when to celebrate his birthday. They are also indebted to the stars in another way, for in early days, the chief importance of birthday records was to enable the astrologer to chart horoscopes. This is from The Lord of Birthdays, page 53. Rawlinson's translation of Herodotus included the following footnote: horoscopes were of very early use in Egypt, and Cicero speaks of the Egyptians and Chaldeans predicting a man's destiny at his birth. Well, the end of the quote. Now, when we examine principles of God's law closely, as they relate to birthday celebrations, we can understand why neither Christ nor his apostles nor their true followers observed their birthdays. As noted earlier, the practice has its origin in idolatry and the worship of the sun, moon, and stars. Some may view birthday custom as purely secular, lacking any religious significance. Yet, we need to be aware of the broader perspective of their origins and the religious significance they have had, and still have for vast multitude of people. Says, Should Christians Celebrate Birthdays? And this was published in June 2002 on page 16 and 18 of the Living Church News. And to add to all of that, the Bible condemns practices associated with astrology. I'm sure that many of you certainly know some parts of the scripture related to that, but here is one, Isaiah 47 verse 13. You are wearied in the multitude of your counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, and the monthly prognosticators stand up and save you from what shall come upon you. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. This is Isaiah 47, verse 13 and 14. Although he was not part of the Church of God, the writings of the early 3rd century Catholic theologian Origen of Alexandria show that even that late, Orthodox Catholics were against the celebration of birthdays. So the Catholic Encyclopedia says, Origen, glancing perhaps at the discreditable imperial Natalitia, asserts that in the scriptures, sinners alone, not saints, celebrate their birthdays. And here is some of what Origen wrote. Of all the holy people in the scriptures, no one is recorded to have kept a feast or held a great banquet on his birthday. It's only sinners like Pharaoh and Herod who make great rejoicings over the day on which they were born into this world below. So this is what Origen has written about about the birthdays. Now, the writings of the late 3rd century Catholic theologian Arnobius show that even that late, Catholics objected to the celebration of birthdays, as he wrote, "You worship with couches, altars, temples, and other service, and by celebrating their games and birthdays, those whom it was fitting that you should assail with keenest hatred." So thus birthdays, you see, friends, birthday celebrations, even of gods and leaders, were condemned as far as the late 3rd century by even Roman Catholic leaders. But like many practices associated with non-biblical Christianity, this changed in the 4th century. In the 4th century, because essentially birthdays became celebrated later. Why? Because of compromises with the pagan cult of Mithraism. And for over 4 decades now, Satanists claim that birthdays are their highest holiday. Well, do you observe them too? If you do, well, then it seems that you're not leaning to Bible teachings, you might be leaning to the dark side that you do not want to be part of, friends. So that is why it is very important for you to know this truth. Yes, it might be shocking, no wonder. Yes, it might be something you have never heard before. It might be something you have never considered before. But indeed, there are facts in the Bible that point out to the truth. And the truth is that only the sinners, really, never saints, nor Jesus Christ, nor the apostles, only great sinners kept their birthdays and celebrated their birthdays. So, essentially, again, birthdays became celebrated later because of compromises with the pagan cult of Mithraism. And before I close, let me just remind you that the so-called first Christian Roman emperor, Constantine, it was he who actually, in the 4th century, promoted the cult of Mithraism and cult of Mithra. He was sun worshipper all of his life. And having done that, having worshipped the sun, he actually blended the sun worship with the Christian terminology, and he actually gave birth to what is called Christianity today. Many people today are not aware that they're actually celebrating Constantinian version of Christianity, in which there are so many elements that have nothing to do with Christ and his church and his apostles. And that is why it is important to delve into history of Christian practices, dear friends. It's important for you to go and check out the history and see where do some of those practices come from. You'll be surprised. They're not from the Bible. They're not from God's prophets. They're not from God's law. And they do not origin, certainly, in the New Testament. You will be very surprised that even the New Testament celebrations very often have nothing to do with the New Testament. On the contrary, they have their roots in paganism, and they honor not really God of the Bible, but the God of this world. So it was with Constantine in the 4th century, with the one who promoted the cult of Mithraism, that the birthdays became a commonplace celebration all over the world. Well, for more analysis, more news, and perhaps in-depth writings about certain things happening in our world today, you're welcome to check our www.BibleNewsProphecy.net. You're also welcome to read all the things that the history provides that teach us, really, about the origins of certain things that we have taken for granted as being Christian. Thank you for your attention, dear friends. Until the next time. Goodbye, friends.